news, transfer news, match previews, legend interviews, Spurs winning, press conferences, covering everything Tottenham and England.
Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. In this episode, we will be discussing everything Tottenham Hotspur as per normal, how everyone is feeling right now. Lots of people are positive. Lots of people are feeling quite negative after the 3 Premier League games that have been played so far. Of course, 1 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat. The Europa League draw, we'll also be discussing that. And of course, today it has been announced that Ange Postecoglou has named his 23-man squad, not 25, 23. We'll be discussing that as well. Also discussing the transfer window. And we will also be taking your questions and looking at a lot of your comments and discussing everything to do with Spurs. Get involved. We're live on YouTube. We're live on X. We're live on Facebook. So your comments are really appreciated, and we really appreciate you and you viewing and listening. Back with me are 3 returning guests. Back with us all the way from Canada is Brian Dagul. Brian, how are you?
I'm very, very good, Chris, and thanks for having me back on. I hope you are good, as well as the other 2 people and the people in the chat.
Well, great to have you here again, Brian. Back with us also, Gary from London. Gary, how are you?
Yeah, really well, thanks, Chris. Not too bad, can't complain. Football-wise, I'm sure we'll get into it. But the main thing is I got Oasis tickets, so I'm happy about that.
Just 2 minutes in, we're talking Oasis already. Craig, the last time Craig was on here, he managed to get about 20 song titles in our chat, and I only noticed 1. So there you are. Yeah. Back with us also is channel regular Melvyn, all the way from Malta. Melvyn, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Chris. Yeah, back for my free therapy session, after the 3 Tottenham games, and it seems that we're in crisis apparently. If you go about what's going on Twitter but yeah, I'm sure we'll discuss it, and I have some opinions, and I'm curious to see what the guys are gonna say as well, and yeah, it'll be a good show and a good listen.
Well, I think there's going to be a mixture of opinions on this panel this evening. Melvyn, I want to start with you because you are one of the positive Tottenham Hotspur fans. You're one of the positive guys that come on this show on a regular basis. How are you feeling as a Spurs fan? Because as you mentioned, you go online, a lot of people are very angry. A lot of people are very disappointed at the moment. Us sitting mid-table, 4 points out of a possible 9. I think it's fair to say that a lot of us feel that we should be sitting here 3 wins out of 3 with 9 points, but it's not to be. How are you feeling?
I don't want to go on a rant, but in a way, I kind of really want to say this and say...
Have your say.
Yeah, but it's like, what the fuck? What the hell is going on? In a sense that we're playing good football. Relax, calm down. I mean, it's Ange Postecoglou's 2nd season. It's the 2nd season. It doesn't mean the progress is going to happen immediately. I mean, when we had the chat, me and you, for about an hour and a half, and I said it won't be Ange Ball 2.0 straight away. It would be 1.2, because I went back and listened to it to see what I said, and it's happening. We've seen a little bit of an improvement, but it won't click straight away, and it's basically the same team. We just have a few additions, and yes, we've been unlucky with injuries, and on another day we'll have 9 points. Seriously, we could have won all 3 of those games, and it seems like we're playing nice attacking football. Yes, it's frustrating. We lost, to Newcastle, and if we won, we'd be sitting here and talking about, we're going to be definitely in the top 4, and it's how football goes. So just relax and enjoy the season. It's not going to be good. It's going to be fun at times. It's going to be frustrating at times. Just relax and support the team. You know what I want to see again? I want to see again the atmosphere at White Hart Lane like it used to be in the 2016-17 season. Where is that? It makes me angry. I've seen videos of the last season of Pochettino and the last season of the Lane, of the finale. Where are those fans? And to generate that atmosphere and get behind the boys. Seriously, I've been so angry about this kind of stuff. We're bogging down about the little things. We had our key striker injured, and Richarlison was injured as well. We had, we're arguing amongst ourselves about the little things, and what's happening in front of our eyes, we're not even noticing. I mean, we bossed Newcastle. Yes, we lost in the end. Yes, we dropped 3 points. But if we had Josie or Conte, he would have tried to hold for the draw, for 1 point. But Postecoglou has the guts and to go for 3 points. Yes, we lost it in the end. But I rather see a manager go for it and go for that 3 points than be pragmatic and hold for the draw. Because at the end of the day, the next game, we would have won it like we did versus Sheffield. I mean, I've been angry not about Spurs' performance. I've been angry because we need to get behind the boys and not have this toxic atmosphere and be divided amongst ourselves. We need to get behind them because it's a critical season this season. I mean, we have to push for top 4. Is it doable? I think top 4 would be an overachievement this season, and I'll say why later on, because I want to hear what the boys have to say. But seriously, like this, it's been an overreaction for this kind of stuff. We played so well in the first 3 games. I've been surprised how well we played. Yeah, we're a bit short on the bench, but so what? Get behind the boys. It's been good this season. I've enjoyed the football.
Gary, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on the opening 3 games so far. Of course, I was with you at the Leicester away game. You were far from happy with that 1-1 draw at the King Power Stadium after the match. How are you feeling now?
The same. I mean, look, I respect what Melvyn says and stuff, but for me, it's completely different. There's actual fans that were celebrating the defeat against Newcastle because we only lost 2-1. They're saying it's progression. We're doing better. We didn't get spanked. I mean, if that's how you want to be as a Tottenham fan, so be it. But for me, I'm not going to celebrate a defeat. I'm not going to come away from a Leicester ground where they've just gone up with a Vardy that's nearly 40 years of age and celebrate we got a draw. They're not good results, mate. At the end of the day, Leicester since then have lost and lost again. Newcastle had players out. They're not a great side this season. We shouldn't be going to Leicester playing as well as we are the first half and then letting Jamie Vardy score against us. And to be honest, we probably should have lost that game in the end if it wasn't for Vicario. Newcastle, so Chris, as I said to you, I'm not going to the game. I'm not even going to watch it because I know we're going to lose, and we did. And as far as I'm concerned, probably one of the reasons why you're not getting Tottenham fans there, getting behind the team is the tickets are too fucking expensive. Let's be honest about it. The cost of everything is through the roof. I'd like to bring my wife and kids to every single game. Half the time I can't. Last season for a North London derby ticket where we went 3-0 down at half time, I paid nearly 300 quid for my boys' tickets. So it's not all get behind the team and sings and praises and happy. When players are playing shit, let's call them out. Richarlison shit. Johnson shit. Timo Werner shit. Son, bench him again. Bring him on. The last time we done that, he scored a hat-trick. Let's be honest. Let's not be all nice and say, oh, it's work in progress. Is this, that, and the other? Go to Leicester and beat them. Don't have 15 chances and then let them come out and control the game and their fans be laughing at us and Vardy giving it all Premier League title. That's not good enough. Sorry, but that's how I feel. It's not good enough. Do you know what I mean? And regardless of top 4, not top 4, take the Europa League seriously. Take the Carabao Cup seriously. When I go to Coventry, Chris, I don't want there to be 8 or 9 changes, mate. Take the game seriously. We need to start winning games and winning trophies and taking tournaments and stuff seriously because we don't. And listen, I don't know where Brian is. I don't know if Brian's going to be on my side on Melvin's side in the middle. But that's how I feel. I'm bored of fans saying, oh, we got to be positive. That was a good display against Newcastle and we only lost 2-1. What do you mean we only lost 2-1? That's like saying, do you know what? Yeah, that girl was talking to me all night. I bought her drinks and she spoke to me all night. She was giving me loads of attention. Yeah, but she went home with that fella. Yeah, but she was talking to me all night. What does that mean? It's nothing, mate. She went home with the other fella. He's the one with the trophy. Wake up.
Brian, let's come to you. Do you first of all, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now, 3 games in? And I also want to get your opinions on what you agree or disagree with what Melvyn and Gary has said.
Well, first of all, I have to say, I love Gary. Bloody hell, that was that Jesus Christ. I don't know what to say now. No, honestly, Listen, I can see where Melvyn's coming from. I am more on Gary's side. You know I'm going to be more on Gary's side. When it came to the Newcastle defeat, the way I look, there's something I can't get out of my head. And it's something Dan Kelly said on TalkSport. And it's kind of in line with what Gary said when he said, if it's a good sign when a team plays well, a team doesn't play well and wins, then on the flip side, it really can't be a good thing when a team plays well and loses. And I can't get that saying out of my head. Don't get me wrong, we played a lot better at Newcastle than we did the last 2 years. Let's face it, that weren't hard. But then what's mainly got to me is I'm one of the people that tried to defend Brennan Johnson. I always say, and I've spoken to you about this before, Chris, I always try and give a player a pre-season with the manager first. And I've seen he's come in for a lot of slack for that cross across the 6-yard box when no striker was there. But then if you look at our training, it's what we've been doing all season. It's what we've been training to do all season. And it's been the Ange wants the striker, obviously Solanke weren't there, it was a son, or an Odegaard on the far post to come in, or whoever's on the wing. So I think he was doing what he was told to do. Don't get me wrong, his performances haven't been great. I think we should, like you said, we should have won all 3 games. Everton, we obviously did. Leicester, we should have been out of sight before Leicester even came in. We're doing this thing. We started this season again, where we're trying to do what Wenger did at the beginning of his time, where it's a million passes before we take a shot. It's pass, pass, pass. We're not being ruthless enough. Now, against Newcastle, if a Solanke had been there to mop up those crosses, are we looking at a different result? Are we looking at 3 points? Probably, maybe. Who knows? I am upset that we've only got 4 points. I am annoyed with not being ruthless enough. But then I agree with it's 3 games into the season. And the Spurs injury curse has struck again. Ange Postecoglou came out and said we're fitter and ready to take on this season. We're fit in a stronger position. Well, in the first 3 games, we've lost all 3 strikers and most importantly, our linchpin in the defence that allows us to play the style we play. So I am frustrated. That we've only got 4 points. Could have been more. But there are things to be positive about. But there are things as well, like Gary said, that isn't good enough.
King Hoddle writes here, overreaction. Is there an overreaction within the fan base right now, Brian, in your opinion?
Oh, mate, do you know what? You're asking
we're 3 games in.
Yeah, listen, it depends how you look at it. The pylon for Ange, do I think that's an overreaction? Yes. I've never turned on a manager and I never will. So it is the pylon.
Not even Nuno?
No, not even Nuno. Listen, Nuno came in. It wasn't his fault. No one else wanted to come. We tried mate. We were getting so close. I kept saying we got more chance of hiring Dora the Explorer the way we were going through humans that weren't going to take the job. Yeah, mate. It's getting to that point where no one wanted the job. So I didn't even turn my back on him. And I was at that Man U game when the Lucas Moura substitution happened and Levy out started. I was happy that it turned on Levy for the first time. That's what. But getting back to this season, like I said, the overreaction on Ange. Do I believe there's no reaction? Yes. Do I think there's an overreaction on individual performances? Yes.
Where's the time and patience, O'Brien, for this manager?
So where I'll go with this, Chris, and this is where I do, and why I say I never turn my back on a manager. I believe if we're going to get anywhere, whoever the manager may be, we have to give them time. We have to let them see a 3rd and a 4th season. Like the big clubs do that go on to success, they give their managers time. We're just very, very unfortunate. We have an owner that predominantly doesn't do it. It gets to 2 years, 2 and a bit. They don't get year 3, year 4, year 5 a contract. So that's where I'm at. Like I said, when it comes to do I think there's an overreaction on the performances and people going on about, like Gary said, we should have had 9 points, like you said. I don't think there has been an overreaction on performances. Yes, we played well in passages, but we've got to be ruthless in those passages and kill games off. And so I don't think there's been an overreaction on the results and perform, but individual performances, Ange, Brennan Johnson, let's just say, Odebear, who's just come in. Is there an overreaction on them? Yeah, absolutely.
Brian, you said there's lots of positives. Talk to me about those.
Well, listen, I will say the passages of play we have had, they have looked more encouraging. It does look like, also looks like Ange has made some tweaks. We're all moaning correctly, and again, correctly so. Listen, I back the manager, but I can still come on here or speak in the pub or whatever about things that I think he may, or I see that could be tweaked. And defensively, there could be, and I have seen changes, but then you look at it, one simple ball against Newcastle where Romero's the only one running forward and the other three running back. That's not, but there have been some tweaks there. I think one of the positives I will say, and Chris, you and I, when we last did the show, the rumour of Solanke was coming up, and you and I were both, oh my God, what does this mean? And I was very, very against this signing, but I took a step back. I think that's a very positive step for Ange's system.
Yeah,
I think he will suit the system. I think he will get the goals. I think we're looking at Johnson's bad performance or people perceiving it another performance. I think Van der Ven obviously has been Van der Ven. I think the Bissouma performance against Everton came and showed what he's doing. I think Pedro Porro is going under the radar. How good he started. So there have been a few positives, but obviously the negative talk always precedes and overweighs it.
I was going to say you named more than a few positives there, Brian.
Yeah.
I don't get the huge criticism of Ange Postecoglou just 3 games into the season, because surely the manager needs time. He's had a couple of transfer windows. We have progressed as a football club in the last 12 months. Planet Paney says here, I'm not disappointed. You're talking about the transfer window. I'm not disappointed. As a lifelong fan, this isn't going to get fixed in one window. We are where we're supposed to be right now. We're a couple of transfer windows away. Melvyn, let's come to you on this point. Transfer windows. Let's break down the 3 transfer windows so far under Ange Postecoglou. What have you been happy with? What are you not so happy with?
I'm kind of on board this idea of doing this Project Youth or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I like the signings we've signed. I loved when we signed Draguzin in January. I mean, because look at the game he played at Newcastle. We needed a centre back. He came in, quality defender. I mean, I loved him, that tackle. Under Lange and Paratici, because I really feel he's still involved. You can kind of see who was pulling kind of for which player. You can kind of see if it's a young promising player who it's more a Lange signing. If it's, I really think, for example, Kulusevski, Bentancur, Udogi, it's more of a Paratici signing. If he's shopping in the Serie A, you think you can kind of see the mold of the player. So we've seen progress in that department. I mean, our signings have been really good. Yeah,
no, there's a comment for you here, Beast of TH. It says, Melvyn, remember you said 2 seasons, mate, we will win the league.
I said 2 or 3. So I'm going to stick with I'm going to stick with that, and I still believe we will get there in the end. Honestly, if we stick with this manager, who I believe, and we continue this path, I wore this shirt for a reason. This is Pochettino's first season. How many of the players that lined up with this kit made it to the Champions League final? How many players were from that squad in the beginning made it to the Champions League final? It took 5 years, that project. 5 years it took. How many transfer windows was that? One of them, we didn't even buy anyone. So that's 4 transfer windows. So think about that. When we got there, we nearly got there because we didn't win the competition, did we? We nearly got there. How many did we buy? Even some of the signings that we made were under Harry Redknapp. If you think Kyle Walker, Danny Rose were with the club for 8 years, 7 years. It takes time to build these things. Under Conte and Jose, we demolished everything that was positive under Pochettino. We demolished everything. We lost all the progress. We used to finish above Arsenal every single season under Pochettino. We were ahead of them in our project, and we lost everything because we lost track of what was important, is to stick to buying young, fast, energetic, exciting players, which was the Tottenham Hotspur sort of model, Gareth Bale, all of these type of players. We lost all of that. We started buying Perisic and these older guys for the now. Yes, we had COVID, we didn't have any money, and we had Jose Mourinho who played defensive football, and we lost our way, and we lost all the progress that we made as a football club. We started from the beginning. That's what people don't understand. We had to start from the beginning. We lost all the progress that we made. That's why people hold to the standards that we're a Champions League club. We're not a Champions League club. If we got top 4 last season, it would have been a miracle. Yes, I thought at one point, I'll be honest, I thought we were going to win the league. And then the Chelsea game happened, and we all know what happened after that. But you have to analyze the team as it is now. We're a Europa League squad. If we made it to the Champions League and we played Real Madrid and we played Bayern Munich in a real competition, we would have got embarrassed. We're still growing as a football club. Let the team play 40, 50 games under Postecoglou. And then we'll see where we get to. And then we'll see gaps in the team. We'll see if Madison is good enough. We'll see if Bentancur is good enough. We'll see if Kulusevski is good enough. And the ones that don't make it, there's a player behind them with a lot of potential banging on the door. Bergvall, Archie Gray, Alfie Devine. We have lots of people on loan that will come back and will assess again. And if they're not good enough, they will be sold as well. They will be ruthless with this kind of thing. And where we used to have this desperation to make top 4 because of money, and it's all about money for Levy. Let's be honest, we have Brian here, and he'll tell you it's all about money for Levy. Where we used to have this desperation for top 4, otherwise we cannot compete. Now we have the stadium. Now we have F1. Now we have all this extra revenue coming in. I mean, we spent a lot of money this season, and we didn't have any European football last season, but we still were able to compete financially without breaking financial fair play and all of that crap.
I don't think that's an issue, though, Melvyn. The spending of money, I don't think is an issue, because when you look back at Tanguy Ndombele, Lo Celso, £100 million on them, the recruitment has been bad in recent years. Now, the recruitment under Ange Postecoglou, I believe, has been pretty decent.
I'll tell you, one last thing. Remember when we signed those players? We said we bought a player who played the Champions League football for Lyon. Amazing. We bought a guy who scored an amazing goal for Besiktas, Betis, against AC Milan with Lo Celso. I used to think these are experienced players who played Champions League in Europa League football, and they're gonna come and they're gonna do amazing things, and we're gonna win the league with these players. They came and they were absolutely crap. We burnt easily 150 million with those signings, but because we bought Johnson for 45 million from a championship club, people want to get on his back. The guy is 22 years old, and he's probably one of the few players that understands Postecoglou's system in this moment in time. I think he will look even better once the whole squad is up to speed. I still think, like Postecoglou says all the time, I still think there's a lot of improvement to do in the final third. A lot. I still think it's Ange Ball 1.2, not 2.0. And we haven't even seen 2.0 yet. And that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Last season, I thought we were going to win the league. I was wrong then. And I could be wrong again. But it's just my opinion. I just think there's a lot. We've had progress, but I don't think we've done enough. And we've seen a bit of it. And it's exciting to see that little bit of progress. But I think there's a lot more development to be had.
Spurs are 4th in the highest net spend in the last 5 years. They're fourth on the list. So this thing about Spurs not spending enough money, I just think that it is a recruitment thing, and we have seen a lot of proof of that in recent years. The amount of players that we have to offload, on free transfers, pretty much giving some of these players away. The recruitment was bad, but it has really improved under Ange Postecoglou. Gary, when Melvyn talks about that final third, and this is something I bring up on every single podcast, certainly lately. In the last 3 games, in these 3 games so far in this Premier League season, Spurs have created so much.
Yeah.
Can you blame Ange Postecoglou for that? The fact that, these players have not been finishing in front of goal, because they're creating chances. They're doing exactly what he wants them to do, but they just cannot finish.
I'm certainly not getting on Ange back at the moment. I think the football we're playing is good attacking football. I think the issue isn't necessarily with Ange. It's just the players can't finish. I mean, this is the problem we've got. I mean, even Son, he just doesn't look like himself. I mean, the Newcastle game, I think he had 1 chance. And there's too many times with Son at the moment where he wants to take that extra touch. And where he used to cut in and go for the shot, he's just not doing it. And it looks to me like he's lost a yard of pace as well. I mean, you know how I feel about Johnson. Look, I hope I'm wrong. Personally, I hope I'm wrong. But I'll be honest, hand on heart. I don't think Tottenham Hotspur will win the Premier League while I'm alive. And I don't expect to die next year. So I've still got a good 40, 56 years. We're not winning the Premier League. I cannot see it possible in any shape or form us winning the Premier League. I just can't. Can we win a trophy? Yes. Can we beat any team on our day? Yes, we can. But unfortunately with Spurs, we can lose to any team on our day. And we can also blow finals like we've done over and over and over again. But when you look at that, the forward line that we've got, and even the midfield to a certain extent, you would have to look at that and say, we've got the players there that have the potential. But, Melvyn mentioned him. Maddison has not been great. Let's get it out there. Maddison, since he's come back from injury, he's not been great. Richarlison is not great. Johnson is not great. Timo Werner, I said as soon as we got him, Chris, he's crap. Why extend his loan? It's a waste of a number. He's rubbish. He's never, ever going to do anything for us, which is positive.
What's happened to the glass half full, Gary?
Well, I'll tell you what it is. It still is half full, because I do still feel we can go
Full
on
of
and
what?
we can beat Arsenal in 2 weeks. I do genuinely believe that. And I also believe on our day we can beat any team. But what I will say, Chris, is I will call it out when it needs to be said. We cannot be going to Leicester, playing that good in the first half and throwing a game away. And when I say throw it away, we was lucky, Chris, to get a draw. And we was, because if it wasn't for Vicario, we'd have lost that game. And the other thing is as well, Chris, and I take it away from any fans. Some fans are in different countries like you guys. Some fans go to games, some fans don't. But for example, Chris, when you're doing a journey back from Newcastle and it's pissing down with rain and it's cold and you've got a 14, 15-hour journey, I think sometimes you can be entitled to be a little bit more annoyed than someone that's cozied up in the front room. It's just human nature.
You know from our WhatsApp group, I've been grumpy since that Newcastle game.
Well, of course you have, but listen, if I'd have gone all the way to Newcastle and back and seen that display and thrown that game away, because we had more than enough chances, like Melvyn, he said it. Bryson said we had lots and lots of chances, but ultimately you're coming home with a defeat. There's nothing positive to take from that. In my books, there's nothing positive to take from a defeat. I held on to a little bit of positive after. You wouldn't think it with the post-match interview on the Leicester game, but I still came home saying, okay, Leicester are not great. They're probably going to go up and go back down. Jamie Vardy should be retired, but we haven't lost. We got a draw. When they got the equaliser, the fans were lifted. They started making a bit of noise. They made nothing all game, but at least we've got a point. But there is no positives from that Newcastle game. Don't tell me you can be positive because we didn't lose 6-1 or whatever it may be. It's just ridiculous in my mind. But
Gary,
people will say, oh, he's toxic, he's this, he's that. And then if you go the other way, you're a happy clapper. I can only give you my honest opinion. Was I happy we beat Everton? Yes, I was jumping for joy. Should we beat Everton? Yes, we should. Could we have scored more? Yes. But it didn't matter against Everton, Chris, because they didn't punish us. But when we come against them other teams like Newcastle, they are going to punish us. That's the difference.
Gary, let's stay with you for a minute. Brooklyn Bound says, I'm not disappointed so far. I'm hopeful that things will start to click. When do you think they will start clicking, especially in that final third? Because this is something, and I don't want to go down the negative road, but
No.
Ange Postecoglou has said so often in his time at Spurs so far, a lot of times last season, we haven't quite clicked in that final third. There is so much more growth. Of course, as Brian mentioned, we've bought Dominic Solanke. I also think he's a very good fit. I think a lot of people at the start of the transfer window would have raised their eyebrows and went, really? But of course, now we've signed him. I think a lot of people have taken the time out to look and realise his pressing is exceptional. But when do you think it will start to click?
It could click in a couple of weeks. Let's not forget against Newcastle. I'm not making excuses for the team, but we had Van der Ven out, we had Solanke out. Could things have been different if we had them? Possibly. But we go into the North London derby. We're at home. It's a packed house. We know what that can be like. There's no reason why we can't get a result. I know last season was a disaster, but the season before we came out, we were fast tempo. We beat them 3-0, and we proper dominated that game. We can dominate that North London derby game. And let me tell you, Chris, if we win that game, that could kick off our season. But also, Chris, if we lose that North London derby, a lot of fans that are being positive at the moment are saying, oh, it's a building process, this, that, the other. There'll be more going down the other route who are saying, Richarlison's crap. Timo missed half a dozen chances. This is not good enough, because that will change a lot of things, the North London derby, let me tell you. Because it's one thing getting a draw at Leicester and losing at Newcastle, but losing at home to the scum is a whole different ball game, mate.
Gary's certainly not holding back this evening. Brian, let's go to you. Of course, Arsenal up next after the international break. The next Premier League game at home to Brentford, but sandwiched in between is that away tie at Coventry City in the Carabao Cup third round. Now, how do you think that Ange Postecoglou will approach this game? Because Gary mentioned earlier he's expecting changes. We saw 10 changes to the starting 11 at Fulham last season, and we went out of the Carabao Cup in August. We certainly don't want to be seeing that again, but we do have some very important Premier League games coming up. And of course, the week later, we're in the Europa League. How does Ange approach this game?
Yeah, Craig, I'm just going to very quickly touch on the transfer window, just very, very briefly, and I'll go straight to that. I just wanted to say, for the person that asked the question that Melvyn answered, saying it's not going to be done in one window, that's what was said in his first window. It's nothing gets done in the first window. Then the second window, it's hard to do it in January. This was his third window. Now, outgoings, I think it's been the best transfer window in Daniel Levy's entire reign. And the club needs to take a lot, even I have credited him for it. A lot of people will say, oh, well, he had to clear up for his mistakes. He had to get them out. It was like, well, you wanted this for years. I wanted it for years. It's finally happened. Well done.
Brian, I get the frustration of poor recruitment in recent years, but the question is, I think, is the patience needed for this manager?
Oh, I complete that completely. Yeah. But like you were saying, Chris, and then I'll go to the League Cup one. What I was going to say is, if someone had told me after Sheffield United, and most Spurs fans, you're going to re-sign Timo Werner, Archie Gray, Dominic Solanke, Odebear, and that Korean guy to come in January, that's your lot. I don't think anyone accepts it. Don't get me wrong, huge fan of Archie Gray. I think Archie Gray is going to be magnificent. Don't know about Odebear. We every year when we promise we're going to get that star player, whether it's paper talk or not, it was just disappointing. Again, we could have done more. If you look at it, when we lost Kane, we didn't replace the striker. This window, we desperately needed left-sided cover. We've left that wide open. So, like you said, we're spending the money. It's where we're spending it. And leaving ourselves short there. But that's what I wanted to say about the window, because...
Well, have you been overly pleased, Brian, with... think about just the 3 windows under Ange Postecoglou. Overall, what would you make of the 3 windows under Ange? Because he's come out and said he's happy with what he's got. I completely agree with you. I would have liked a couple more signings in this window, and I don't think that we have done enough when we want to compete on all fronts. I completely agree with that. But Andrew's come out and said he's happy, but what do you make of the 3 windows overall? Because when you think about what Ange Postecoglou walked into, you know, all those players that the fans wanted out, all those players that needed to go, the contracts being up, Andrew's come out and said that, you know, a number of the players come to the end of the cycle. I completely agree with that. He had a lot of work to do, and he's been very, very ruthless in terms of outgoings. So he's added had a big job to do, and I think that people forget of what he actually walked into to how the club is now. Because remember how people were feeling, say, 14 months ago to how they're feeling now. It's completely different.
Oh no! Listen, someone sent me as well a thing that showed me Mourinho's first game in his second season, Conte's first game in his second season, and Ange, and the transformation in the 11 and the sub bench is night and day, which is something this club has struggled to do for a goddamn long time. There's definite a restructure or whatever going on, but again, it's quantity, not quality. I think there could have been better quality brought in. With every youngster we bring in, like Liverpool and other teams have done, I would want one more established diamond to kind of help them along and soften it. So I think, again, we're at that stage where in 2 years' time, we could have an awesome squad, but we're always there in 2 years' time. But like I said, you can't deny that in the period that Ange has been here, to other managers, there has been a massive change. That can't be denied. Whether we've got huge quality, like you look at our bench, it's got better with the youngsters that are going to be part of the Spurs' future. Is it a bench that now terrifies people and goes, oh my God, they've got some game changers there? That's you don't know because the youngsters, whatever. But now you're saying about the League Cup, Chris. I'm sure you were there. I unfortunately was there for the Fulham game last year. I was also unfortunately I arrived in London and went straight to Nottingham for the Nottingham Forest one. So you'll be relieved to know I won't be going to Coventry, so we should win it.
Cheers, Brian.
Mate, listen, I was at the Coventry game when Gordon Strachan was in charge, and we were 2-0 up at half-time and lost 3-2 at Highfield Road. He's got to take this cup seriously. Chris, I'm kind of at the point this year where this season I'd rather we take the domestic and Europa League more serious than we took the league. And I look back at Jose Mourinho, and Jose Mourinho used to say at Chelsea, I want that Carabao Cup because it's the first cup you can win, and it sets that mentality. I think he will make changes. I think he has to make changes going in because of the Europa League, the league as well. I just don't think he can risk making 9 changes. 3 or 4, maybe 4, and then have some first teamers there. But do you know what? We're going to learn so much about Ange this year, because this year he has got 4 competitions he's got to juggle.
Yeah.
And his game management and time of substitutions. When we've seen Van der Ven or Porro pick up what looked like an injury at Leicester, does he keep him on to run it off, or does he go, no, off you come? So we're going to see. I want this Carabao Cup to be taken goddamn seriously, very seriously. And like Gary said, losing to the filth could be a nightmare, but then losing to Coventry, should it happen, I don't think either will happen, but then we've got that FAB meeting on the fan forum. It could be this upcoming week could be the highest of highs or the lowest of lows. And I for one want Ange to make changes, but not wholesale, nowhere near what he did against Fulham. If he did what he did against Fulham and we underestimate Coventry, we could be in trouble.
Melvyn, let's come to you. What do you make of all of the fans criticising Ange Postecoglou at the moment?
I understand why, because in this modern age, I mean, we want results now. We want them yesterday. We want signings done, after 2 days. There's no patience anymore in football, especially for a club like us, when we've waited so long and we've been told, the stadium's going to be a game changer, and we want success now, and the price we pay, especially this kind of stuff. And for me, I'm fully on board with Postecoglou. I mean, I'm me, I'm always behind the manager, but I was always behind Jose. I was always behind Pochettino. I was always behind Conte. I loved Antonio Conte, especially in the beginning, especially when it went really, really well. But when it was going really poorly and the football was bad. But we play enjoyable football under this manager. Yes, sometimes we win in the end. Sometimes we lose in the end. You get it both ways. And this season, I really think is going to be a lot similar to last season. I think there's going to be minor improvements and fine-tuning. And there'll be big games which we will win and deserve to win. There'll be big games which we will lose and maybe deserve to lose as well. Do I think if we lose against Arsenal, it will be the end of the world? I hate losing to them. Don't get me wrong. I hate. And I'm going to be away from that game with some friends. And I told them, if we win against Arsenal, I'm going to buy everyone drinks and we're going to party, because I would love to somehow take away 3 points from them and derail their title charge. So don't get me wrong. I want to beat them. As I'm really passionate. I hate Arsenal. Gary knows me. We bond over this fact.
Yeah,
that I hate them. I want to beat them so much. And I was there for the 3-0 under Conte.
Yeah.
And so that game, right, I thought Spurs are going to kick on. We're going to be better than Arsenal. But because they did the groundwork and they stuck with their manager, and they had this stupid saying which annoyed me at the time, and I made fun of them for it. Trust the process. Trust the process.
Yeah.
And it's funny because now we're in the same position, but we don't want to trust the process. We don't want to trust Ange. We don't want to go through the painful part. We don't. We want the victory, and we want it to be done like that. And it doesn't happen in football. It takes time. It takes games. It takes making mistakes like we did against Newcastle. But where I will judge Ange is, I don't want to see those mistakes again. Look at the set pieces. Now all of a sudden no one is talking about the set pieces. Why isn't anyone talking about the set pieces? Now all of a sudden, no, we cannot finish our chances. No, all we talk about is the missed chances. What about we are now the set pieces have been taken care of, and it seems like we're defending them better, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't concede a set piece to Arsenal, and I look like an idiot, because this is football and it's capable of happening.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen, but it's a process. These things takes time, and I trust the manager to get it. And the manager enjoys this period, which is strange and funny at the same time, because he likes it when people doubt him and question him, and he says he strangely enjoys this period. So I'm thinking right now, Ange Postecoglou is enjoying this from the fans. He's sat at home, probably he gets whispers of what the fan base feels like and what's they're thinking. Because even though he got it wrong last season against City and he didn't understand what we felt, I still think he has an understanding of the fans and what they're feeling. So he knows we're a bit disappointed and with the start, and we want the victories now. So he probably will know that people are doubting him. People are saying Ange out. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's clueless. There will be fans who are saying that, and he'll probably be hearing some of this. And he's enjoying it at the moment because he knows what's coming. And if history repeats itself and he does the same thing which he did at Celtic, mind you, in the Premier League, it probably takes a bit longer, because he says, I usually win things in my second year. I think it will take longer than 2 years, I personally think. But I still trust him to go on this journey and this philosophy. 100%. I'm behind this manager. And it makes me angry and disappointed with all this negative thing. It's not saying I'm a happy clapper. No, I support Tottenham Hotspur, and I'm behind the man.
You don't just need to be put in two brackets, either happy clapping or being a toxic fan. I hate that. There's a comment on screen there. We will never acknowledge the improvements. We absolutely do. We do on this channel. We talk about all the good stuff. We talk about some of the negative stuff. We cover it all. And we spoke about the improvements on a show yesterday about the set pieces. It's important to discuss absolutely everything. But I'm with you, Melvyn. When we talk about something positive on this channel, we get called happy clappers. When we talk about something that's not going quite right, it's like, oh, it's toxic. Oh, I'm going to switch off. You've got to discuss everything. And I would like to think that we get a mixture of guests on. I think we've got a good balanced mix here.
Well, the best one,
Gary,
is when you're negative about the team, the first thing a lot of people say is he's not a real fan. Yeah, he's not a real fan because you've slagged off a player. That means you're not a real fan. I mean, I find it bizarre. I mean, but look, everyone's entitled to their opinion, whatever they say or anything else. But I'm not going to change my opinion on anything. Listen, I'm all for Ange. When we did our first podcast, Chris, when we appointed him, I was buzzing, and I'm still buzzing for Ange. There was times when I loved Mourinho. Son and Kane were playing some amazing football under Mourinho, and I backed him. Conte as well. If anything, I think the football under Mourinho was better than Conte. And I love his post-match interviews. I know he was hated by a lot, but I liked him. I see good in Spurs. Listen, we got a good result against Everton. Van der Ven's run. We got 4. We could have got 7 or 8. Happy days. But listen, you got to be honest. When we're losing games that we shouldn't be losing, you can't then keep putting your arm around these players. They're not they're not grafting for £300-400 a week, mate, and making ends meet. They're on a lot of money.
Gary, can I tell everyone that when you were at Leicester, you were also cheering for Timo Werner. So when they're wearing that Spurs logo, you're still cheering from them.
Of course I am. Listen, I want Timo Werner to score as much as the next man. I want Johnson to come good. I'm not got a vendetta against these players, but all I can say, Chris, is what I see. And listen, I was one of Maddison's biggest fans. I love Son, but they're not cutting it at the moment. Whether or not that's the system, whether or not they're not fully fit, I don't know. But I can't be praising Son at the moment because Son is a shadow of himself. I'm sorry, but he is.
Gary, what positives would you take from the opening 3 games? Because as Melvyn said there, the set pieces defensively have been good. Although I believe that we have a huge test coming up against Arsenal. That is going to be a huge test in terms of set pieces. But what positives would you take from the 3 games so far? What improvements have you seen from last year?
The positives I would take is we are, playing front foot attacking football. I do think Solanke, is a bit nervous. It was his debut against Leicester. I think on another day he scores. There was a lot of positives in that Leicester game. Obviously, the Everton game was great, but that Leicester game, especially that first half, Chris, we were there, and I said to you, look, we played amazingly first half, but I called it, Chris. I said, we're going to concede and Vardy's going to score. 1, you're giving him grief all game, so obviously that player's going to score. And 2, we didn't take our chances. So it's not all doom and gloom. Even the Newcastle game, I purposely didn't go and I didn't watch it, but I've seen the highlights and stuff. And yes, we had a lot of chances in the Newcastle game. So the positives are, we're not going into these games and getting played off the park. So that's the positives, okay? In all 3 games, we were in them. 1 we've won comfortably. The other was a draw and we should have won. Even the game we should have lost, we probably shouldn't have lost. But what I don't like, Chris, is when it's not even fans, but it is fans as well. But when they say, yeah, but on another day, and if this happened, but if this and if that, and these things don't cut it. It's all good and well saying, but if we had this player and if we had that, we would have done this, and if that one went in, teams that are going to win things, if we're going to be serious about winning a trophy, we can't be saying, oh well, but if we would have had this player at that. We need to make it work with the squad that we got and the team that we put out there, and we need to find a way to get results. We can't hang on the fact that we didn't have Van der Ven or we didn't have Solanke. We can't, so we lost to Newcastle. We can't hang on the fact that, we had 15 chances in the first half against Leicester. That's the only reason we didn't win. It's not good enough. Win it. Find a way.
I get that, because there were a lot of those comments at the weekend. If we had Van der Ven and Solanke on that day, then we would have won. This would have happened. That would have happened. But of course, you've got to play these games without some of these players sometimes. You're going to have injuries.
Newcastle had a few players out, and Newcastle haven't started the season great either. So it was a great opportunity for Tottenham to go up there and get a result. We've done it before. The year they got taken over, we were 1-0 down after a few minutes. We had the fans, against us, all the Newcastle fans. It was like proper rocking there, and we still got a win.
Yeah.
Gary, I'm going to come to you on this question from David Shepherd here. Hi, Gary, Chris, Brian and Melvyn. Would you like to see more shooting from distance like Pedro Porro instead of trying to walk it into the net? The only reason I'm asking you this is because we discussed this a lot during that Leicester game. Now, let me give some stats first before you answer. In terms of shots, Pedro Porro is out in the lead at the moment, 8 shots so far in the 3 Premier League games. Son 5, 2 of them were blocked, by the way. Johnson 5, Odegaard 5, Romero 4, Starr 3, Kulusevski only 2, James Maddison 6. We discussed it, Gary. Would you like to see? Because I feel like we saw a lot of that during pre-season as well, where we're trying to score the perfect goal. And I think you mentioned it right at the very start of the stream about Son, where he would cut in from the left-hand side and shoot. And now he's trying to set up one of his teammates rather than have a go himself.
You hit the nail on the head there. It's a perfect opportunity to come into Son against Arsenal when we beat them. I think it was 2-0. And the ball's played to him. He runs in, he cuts in. What's he do? A lovely curler outside the box. Where is that Son? Where are them opportunities? Where are them opportunities? Like, we're not making it. Leicester, the amount of times, Chris, we was at that game and we were shouting and screaming, shoot. There were so many opportunities. Now, I'm not saying every time they shoot, they're going to score.
I'm blaming you this evening, losing us viewers and losing us subscribers here.
Well, do you know what? So be it, because the real subscribers will stay because they'll know it's a balanced show and we're being honest. What do you want me to say? Oh, listen, Son, he re-signed a contract when Kane left. Stick with him and everything else. Sorry, I love Son to bits. I love him. He's brilliant. He's been a great servant for the team. But Son is taking one too many chances. Son is not shooting outside the box. Son has lost a yard of pace. We're doing one too many passes. That first half, Chris, against Leicester, I'm almost certain if we would have taken 1 or 2 less passes and more shots, we would have easily got 2 or 3 goals in that first half. It's either playing out from the back 1 too many passes and making mistakes, or 1 too many passes in their end of field, and we're just not shooting. It's not to say, look, Porro has scored some blinders, and it's not to say that, the other players are going to get, because he's got a knack of it. All his goals are carbon copy, aren't they? But fair play to Porro that he's willing to take a go, Because a lot of the players, including Maddison and Johnson, I would go as far as say Johnson, Timo Werner, Son, almost look nervous on the ball at times, Chris, to shoot. They almost look nervous, like it's a confidence thing.
A quick yes or no, Gary. Is Ange Postecoglou going to get the very best out of Timo Werner and Brennan Johnson this season?
He will, but their very best is not good.
Brian, let's come to you. Spurs diehards writes here. I can already see results from the work of the coaches, Nick Montgomery and Sergio Raimondo. You must be pleased with the way that we have defended set pieces so far this season.
Yeah, then listen, I think as well, the tail end of last season, it kind of worked out. After all the last season, all the madness and going mad that we need a set-piece coach, and he said, no, we don't. I can't remember what game it was. It might have been 1 or 2 games before the end of the season. It seemed to be a different approach on corners. It seemed to be, and we haven't conceded, from what I remember, a set-piece goal since. So there definitely has been an improvement there. There's no doubt with that, and hopefully that will go on throughout the season. Hopefully when we get the defence fit and firing and Van der Ven is back in the team. It's very early. They came in the summer, didn't they? So like we said, we can't say 3 games is too early to go mad or go whatever. I think it's a bit too early to go, yep, I've definitely seen changes. They're having an impact. It's the first few games of the season, so we'll see come what Christmas and whatever. I will just say, Chris, with the shooting, it mystifies me. We've got James Maddison, and we've all seen last week. I saw so many compilations showing how effective he is with dead balls, shooting from outside the area. How regularly he did it for Leicester, Coventry, Norwich. It's a major part of his game. It's a major attribute he has. Yeah. Yet for some reason, maybe it's because we're crowding the midfield, or maybe it's not the role we've been asking. We've got a guy that has got probably one of the best long range shots out there in that league when he's on fire, and set pieces, and we're not taking advantage of it. We saw Bissouma. Bissouma had a rocket. We never see him shoot. I think it's something we've got to do. But going back to the coaching, I think it is a little bit too early, but there definitely has been something in the set pieces, hasn't there? I can't remember. I think there was one at Everton, the home game, where it looked like a game of pinball for one moment. I think it was in the first half or early the second half, where it was just like one of the old day goalmouth scrambles. But apart from that, I can't remember too many set pieces that have actually given us many concerns.
No.
Right, let's stay with you. Let's take a comment here from King Hoddle. And I must say, King Hoddle is on literally every stream that we put out. So thank you so much for all of your support and input on these streams. The clue is in the word supporter. How about getting behind a young and learning side? Now, Brian, I will never, ever in my life tell someone how to feel or you know, advise them on how to feel or what to say or whatever, you know, supporting Spurs. We all do it in our own way, and we're all different people, and we all approach things differently.
Correct.
Some are positive, some are negative, some sit in the middle, whatever. What would you say to the fan base right now, those people getting behind Ange Postecoglou and not getting behind Ange Postecoglou? Because I know everyone's frustrated, but you know, you can't have people keep arguing with one another about your opinion.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I will just mention Levy here just for this one moment, because this is you can't keep having a go at a manager. We sack him so regularly that I can't believe people are getting on his back now. It's because it's become the norm of this football club. Klopp's and Wenger's and Ferguson's even at United, they took some time to get where they were going. We all know that if Manchester United had won that FA Cup against Palace, his job was under threat. There's been so many managers, and you look at it now, even, and I hate mentioning him, down the road at the Filth. How many times the fans wanted Arteta out?
Yeah.
Arsenal came out and stood by him and goes, listen, you can bitch and moan all you want. He's staying. He is staying, and we're going to see this through. And all right, they've fallen at the final hurdle, but they're now supporting him in the transfer market. They're now listening to him, and they're now going places. The only time we gave a manager a chance, a long chance, was Pochettino. And we all know where we got there, and then in the end it turned sour. I don't understand. I keep saying it on my show, and King Hoddle comes into our shows as well occasionally, and I keep saying, for people that keep turning on the manager, why are you turning on the manager? Because all that happens is another manager comes in, will repeat the process, and we'll be in the same place 18 months to 2 years' time. Yeah. I believe, listen, I'm with you, Chris. I won't tell anyone how to support their club. People will say if you go to the ground, you're a supporter, but if you don't, you're a plastic, you're an armchair. Well, I live in Toronto, Canada. When you go get up for the 12:30 games, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning in minus 30 degrees snow.
Right. I've been all around the world. I know how people support the club in different ways. Yeah, it's incredible.
The round the world support, not just from Brits that have moved to different countries, but you've seen on the Japan, South Korea, Australia, when they come over here to America.
Yeah.
When I first moved here, I couldn't believe how big Spurs were. I think Paul Stalteri obviously influenced a lot of people of that age. But I couldn't believe just how big the Premier League is here. And obviously Melvyn knows, having spent time here. There's different ways. Just because I support my football club. I live and breathe by my football club. My first love is my football club. My wife has had to factor in how big a part Spurs is in my life. Yeah. She knows when the fixture list comes out, the first thing my wife says to me is, what 2 days of the year do I plan fuck all? Because she says, when's Spurs Arsenal? So she knows it's a massive part around the world. And how you support... Go on,
right, let me tell you this. Melvyn's getting married next year on the opening weekend of the Premier League season.
Oh,
well, put it this way, if I was doing that and it was a North London derby, the wedding would be postponed. I had a fiancée before this, and I split up with her because she asked me to choose between a North London derby and a family function. So I've been there, done that. Like I said, going back to how you support the club, I support the 11 men on the pitch, the manager, always, everything. I have my frustrations, and people know where my frustrations are, and that won't change till he changes or he goes. But it doesn't mean I don't support the team. No. Doesn't mean I don't wake up and do and support this team. And from minute 1 to minute 90, all I care about are the 11 players on the pitch. Just because I might say that I think this person, Brennan Johnson, I think he had a good game against Newcastle, made a difference. Just because a large percentage of people disagree with that doesn't make you the right supporter and me the wrong supporter.
No, that's right.
This is a game, and unfortunately, football is changing, and the way the game is played, the way the game is orientated by money. It wasn't the football that I grew up watching, but I still support this club, and I live, breathe, and die by Tottenham Hotspur. Like I said, my anger is with the board. So people like myself who are against the board have every right to be against the board. And when we hear that word patience, which you could hear, it boggles, it's mind-boggling. But no one has the right, including myself, and I've done it in the past, has the right to tell someone you're a bad supporter, go support another club. It's wrong.
Brian, very simple question for you.
Yep.
Do you think that Ange Postecoglou has been backed by the board so far in the 3 transfer windows?
Financially, yes. Quality, no.
But surely those are his choices of players.
Listen, I will say I believe a lot of them, especially Archie Gray, are his. Do I think he might
so
be...
in terms of the board who you keep mentioning and your frustrations are with, do you think that or have you been impressed with how they have actually backed Ange Postecoglou in these windows? Can you see progression?
Progression, yes, with the recruitment team coming in. But I would have expected more. Like I said, it's a loaded question, Chris, and not by the answer. It goes. I would, like I said, it looks like you said, we have spent 430 million euros, or I don't know if that's euros or pounds, but that's an obscene amount of money in the amount of time. It's more than Conte got. It's more than Jose got. So you can't have that. Where it's being spent, like I said, people like Archie Gray, unbelievable bit of business.
Okay, let me put it another way then. Do you see progression? Do you see progression in the last 12 months, either in transfer windows, the way that we play, the future that we can see, the players that have been coming in, the quality of the players that are coming in? I think we all agree. I completely agree with you, Brian, that we perhaps didn't do enough in this transfer window for Postecoglou. But if that level of spending and if those right players in terms of good recruiting continue in the next couple of windows, then surely we will be in a good place.
If you ask me, has there been a change under Ange? The answer is definitely yes.
Yeah.
I can't sit here and say there hasn't, because it shows that there has. In the way we've conducted in ourselves, the way we've shipped everyone out, that there is this transfer team, which we'll see how they develop. Bringing in, like I said, players like an Archie Gray, outstanding. I honestly think it's an incredible bit of business. When I woke up and saw we'd signed Odegaard, was I like, what the hell are Spurs doing? Absolutely, and I'm not going to lie. Did I want to see a real top draw? I said to you last time, what I want to see from Tottenham, and I believe we have the resources to do it now, especially with the wage bill being cut, is I want to see that player come in that doesn't just shock Tottenham Hotspur fans. It shocks Premier League fans and goes, Jesus Christ, look what Spurs have gone and done. Like when we brought Klinsmann in. I'm not saying, obviously, Klinsmann now, you're talking upper 150 mil, which we're not going to do. But I want to see Spurs sign a player that strikes fear into the rest of the Premier League. And like Eze, if we got Eze, this whole Spurs fan base would have been, yes, that's what we're talking about. Let's do this. But that's what I want to see. That's where we need to improve.
Everyone who I talk to about Ange Postecoglou has seen his career, though, Brian. He just does not sign those marquee signings. I think a lot of us wanted Eze, for example, instead of Odegaard, but it wasn't to be. And I think that these, next signings in next transfer windows have got to be about what Ange wants. It's got to be what suits his system and takes us forward as a football club. But I do think there has been progression. I know a lot of people are unhappy about the transfer window, but in terms of the outgoings, I think that we've done a good job, and that work needs to start immediately on the January window, and that January window needs to be strong, in my opinion, especially when we'll then be competing in the FA Cup, hopefully still in the Europa League, and hopefully still in the League Cup. Because if that is the case, I think there's a period of time between November and March where we could be playing 32 games in 16 weeks. That's 2 games a week. You need a squad. You need a decent squad. You need really good depth for that as well. So hopefully, Postecoglou will continue to be backed. Melvyn, let's come to you because let's talk about the Europa League squad. Of course, Ange was meant to name a 25-man squad. It's 23 players. Vicario, Forster, Austin, Whiteman, Dragushin, Udogi, Romero, Porro, Davis, Van der Ven, Basuma, Madison, Gray, Bergval, Kulusevski, Johnson, Odebear, Sarr, Bentancur, Richarlison, Son, Timo Werner and Solanke. It looks like the left-back options will be Udogi, Davis and Van der Ven. Right-back options for the Europa League will be Pedro Porro and Archie Gray. And of course, today, it's worth noting that Alfie Devine has gone out on loan to Belgian club Westerlo. As I said, 23 players instead of 25 due to the lack of club-trained players. Jed Spence and Sergio Reguilon left out. No one's surprised about Reguilon because he's looking for a move away from the club in the various transfer windows that are still open. But Jed Spence, is that a surprise for you? Because it seems like he's missed out because Ange Postecoglou feels that Fraser Forster is Tottenham's number 2 goalkeeper. Does that surprise you in any way?
From that list, who could you have really replaced for Spence? Because,
good point.
Because I went through the list and I thought realistically, who could have we taken out for Spence? And I didn't.
It's only the goalkeeper.
Yeah, it's the goalkeeper is the issue. So I mean, Spence did really well, to force Postecoglou to keep him in the first place. So, and he's been coming on during games, and I think for certain games in the Premier League and in the cups, he will have a part, and he will play his part this season because I think he played well enough in the pre-season, and what journalists have said behind the scenes has been excellent. If he trains like Udogi does and has the mentality Udogi does, and they can spark up a partnership like Kyle Walker and Trippier did in Danny Rose. That sort of we need those sort of fullbacks at the club. We need to have established 4, I guess, because you need 4 realistically to play European football. You need Premier League, and you need to rotate them occasionally because it's a pivotal position in the Postecoglou system. I mean, last season, in my opinion, I know Van der Ven got Player of the Season, but I thought Pedro Porro should have got it. I think he was excellent last season and got some really good goals and had really good games. And I think he got a bit burnt out till the end of the season because he was playing every single game. And this season we have a bit more cover. Not as much as probably we all want to, but we'll just play. We have versatile players. I think that's why they keep buying versatile players because you can play them left, right. They can play versus positions. I mean, Archie Gray can play centre back, can play right back. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I talk to Brian every now and then before every game, and I tell him, what's the lineup going to be like? And try to guess. And most of the time, we're pretty accurate. I mean, we can get it spot on. But for the Europa League, it's like you don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to start Bergval? Is he going to start Archie Gray? How strong is he going to go for the first game? Do you think he'll go, full strength? And we don't know. There's lots of question marks regarding the Europa League. I mean, he has to rotate because players need rest. But this early in the season, you can see him going full strength for the Europa League. Get that first victory. There's the back line is still suffering with lack of fitness. You could see Romero needs a bit of sharpness. Udogi needs a bit of sharpness. They came really late. I can see Bentancur getting minutes because Bentancur needs minutes. But at the moment in time, Basuma for me is a definite starter. I mean, yes, he played well against Leicester, Bentancur, and he got unlucky with the injury. And luckily, it was nothing major. But the Europa League is going to offer positive challenges to see what the manager does in the Europa League. I mean, I want to see Spurs play versus teams that haven't looked at us the way we played last season. It's like some of these European clubs won't be really aware of the way we play. Yes, they'll do their homework, but it's like it's and also to see which player steps up in Europe. If who's going to score, and there's lots of positive question marks that will be answered. Who are the leaders? You know, if Son is going to be dropped, Son going to be played in the Europa League. I mean, that's another question mark. Is Son cannot play the entire season, and Son is at the age, unfortunately, where he's starting to decline. And I hate to put up this question, but I want this question to be for all of you. At what point do you drop Son? Because it's going to happen eventually. And I love Son. I love him, and I think he's a great player. But you cannot.
He's pressing this season, Melvyn. Has been exceptional, by the way.
Yeah, because he had a summer off. For the first time in a long time, he had the summer off. I don't think he had any international breaks or any tournaments. And he looks a bit more fresh. But he's still 32, and you have to manage his games, and you can't burn him out. Because when Son is fresh and on his day, he's a quality player, and I would start him every day of the week. But playing twice a week, what if Son gets injured, you know, for a long period of time? He's a real leader on the pitch. And we need him, and we need him to be kept fresh. So, in my opinion, he needs to be rotated in and out strategically. We need him for games.
Yeah, these other players need to step up.
Yeah, other players need to step up. And this is where I criticize the club. This next line, we're relying on 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds, and in the Premier League and in this day of age, you cannot do it. But I'm still behind them. But this is where I think the club went a bit wrong. I'm all aboard this project, but I have the mentality of where I think we're going to struggle a little bit until these people have 20, 30, 40 games under their belt. And until that happens, they're inexperienced. We cannot rely on Odegaard. You know, those mistakes they're going to happen for him. Odegaard is going to make those mistakes because he's 19. He's 19. Johnson's 22, I believe. Even Kulusevski is still a very, very young age. And we hold him to very high standards because we bought him when he was, 21. Kulusevski in Italy was raved about when he was younger. He was raved about in Italy. And hopefully we'll see which players step up and can be leaders, when others drop out. I mean, last season when Sonny went to Asia, Richarlison had that spell. And this is where I don't agree with Gary. Gary called Richarlison shit. Richarlison saved our season last season. He saved us by scoring 11 goals. And we play better with Richarlison up top with Son.
But, I mean, if you're saying Richarlison saved our season, that's where our standards are at the moment. Which
but we would have finished 9th, Gary. We would have finished 9th. That's the point. We finished 5th in the Europa League.
Mate, I'll say it as it is. Richarlison is not that great. It's as simple as that. Yeah. You can say he's great and he saved our season, but saved our season for what?
Melvyn, you can't say because he didn't. You can't take those goals away and say we would have finished 9th. Someone else would have taken his place, and we don't know. We don't know what would have happened. They might have scored more.
If we had Richarlison for Newcastle, we would have won the game, and that's a fact.
Yeah, if buts and maybes don't win matches.
We've had Richarlison
We'll see.
Games
We could have had Will Lancashire versus Newcastle, and we would have won the game. Any striker. And we would have
chance at the end for Leicester and headed it over.
I'd also say with what you said about Richarlison, if Richarlison had stayed fit, we might have got 4th. You're saying if Richarlison saved our season with those 11 goals, if he stayed fit, not saying he would have, and we would have got 4th, but on that logic, if that saved our season, if he had stayed fit, then maybe we would have got that top 4 spot, but we didn't. It's like Gary said, could have, would have, should have.
Yeah. Right, Gary, let's come to you on the Europa League squad. Now, the under-21s list is called the B list, and UEFA rules state those players had to be at the club for 2 years. So Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall are in the main squad. As a minimum, 8 of those 25 players, this is from UEFA, by the way, 25 of those players are reserved for locally trained players, and no club may have more than 4 association-trained players listed among those 8 players. If a club has fewer than 8 locally trained players in the squad, then the maximum number of players is on list A, is reduced accordingly. Club-trained players, they've got to be on the club's books for 3 years between 15 and 21. So that is Austin and Whiteman. And associated trained players, who were on another club's books in the same association for 3 entire seasons between 15 and 21. Gary, are you surprised by Jed Spence not being included?
I am, but I don't know. I don't know if that was a technical thing. I know there's been sort of whispers about his attitude and stuff there. Has that got something to do with it? I mean, I was surprised, not the whole Regulin thing, yeah, fine. But I was a little bit surprised with that because the space was there for him, wasn't it? So I don't know. I can remember a few people saying he had certain things with his attitude and stuff. I wonder if there's anything, but look, it's all hearsay. I don't know. But was I surprised? Yes. I thought he would be in there personally, but I don't know. I mean, you know, you got to trust the manager. He's chosen his players. He's left him out. It is what it is, isn't it?
If Spurs do get through to the next stage, then obviously the squad can change. So Jed Spence could get into that next squad.
We brought 4 keepers.
Sorry?
We brought 4 keepers.
4 goalkeepers, yeah.
I mean, we don't need to bring 4 keepers, do we?
But we've only got 2 club trained between 15 and 21, and that's Austin and Whiteman. That's why they are there. Brian,
Right.
do you want to have your say on the Europa League squad?
Yeah, do you know what? The thing I will say about Jed Spence, and someone from my channel, I think he's in here now, Sean Slater mentioned it as well. We're all talking about, are we surprised he's not there? What must Jed Spence be feeling right now?
Yeah.
If you think about it, he's come back.
He's had a tough time at Spurs.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like he's come back. Obviously, the attitude issues that Warnock's spoken about, we've wanted him shipped out.
Yeah.
He's come back, and let's face it, he looks rejuvenated in pre-season going forward. Defensively, still, and he thinks, right, we got rid of Emerson. There is a pathway for me. Only for him to not be in there. So also you got to now, not only how does he feel, how does he bounce back from this? If there are attitude issues, does this affect him, or does he go, right, I'm going to show you that you made a huge mistake, and literally just go mental and literally just try and impress? Tell you the truth, I said this on my show, Chris, I'm not so much concerned about the defence without Spence, because there's 6 or 7 there. Archie Gray can go right back.
Yeah.
I'm more worried when you look at that team of the 4 strikers or 4 attackers, Son, Solanke, Richarlison, Werner. Now, Solanke, please God, once he comes back from this injury, will stay injury free. This looks like a freak thing, a contact thing, which there's no way he didn't get connected with at 38 games in Bournemouth. But obviously this injury's flared up. Hopefully when he comes back, he will stay fit and will be as reliable as he was for them. But then you look at Richarlison, and can he stay fit? And then you're looking at the centre forward of Solanke, and it's going to be Son or Werner. I'm more concerned about that than I am actually about the defence. Again, with Europa League, this is the cup I want him to take the most serious. So I just hope he rotates accordingly and tackles this properly.
I said this the other night, Brian. Everyone goes on about this high line and, our defending of how, it can be very, very high risk defending. But of course, if you have got those finishers in that final third, Ange, Postecoglou, Vicario, they've come out before and said they don't really care about clean sheets. It's about we score more goals than we concede. Yeah. But when you're not clinical in that final third, it could be a big issue. Chairman 494 writes here, Werner and Richarlison for Europa League, we are in for a goal fest on Thursday nights. Very sarcastic comment. But of course, I'm with you. We have to be clinical in that final third. Melvyn's talking about resting the likes of Heung-min Son. These players have to step up, don't they?
Oh, big time. I mean, first of all, that news from hearing Vicario say, I don't care about clean sheets, that's got to be the first goalkeeper I've ever heard say I'm not fussed about clean sheets. It's probably tongue-in-cheek, more concerned about... that's what Chris just said. If he came out and said that, that's very concerning, because you see the documentaries where goalkeepers have gone nuts because if they're 4-0 up and then they let a goal in, the goalkeeper's gone nuts because of his clean sheet. So that's another story. But getting back to we've got to be clinical. Like you said, if you look at we go back to the 3 games we've had times in all 3 games where we've had periods where we have created chance after chance and not taken it. Now, in this draw, you're going away to a place like Galatasaray. Now, we all know the reputation and how hostile that's going to be. And also Ibrox. Let's not forget Ibrox. That's going to be a tasty. And then the reunited with Ange Postecoglou and Rangers fans. There are some daunting games in this tournament, and we have to be ruthless. If we create these chances, and there's no doubt, none of us can say that this Ange Postecoglou team has never had I can't remember a game where we haven't not created chances, not taken them, definitely, but not created chances. And in this league format, we're going to have to take it. We're going to have to take them. Yeah. And obviously, it's all going to be varied about what games we got in the Premier League the week after. You both spoke about rotating Son. I think it's come to the point where he does need to be right. If you're going to get the best out of Heung-min Son, you can't expect him to play, if we get to all finals, 60 games. He can't do it. No player can. So that front line is a cause for concern.
Ryan, I'm with you. I think this Europa League format, I think the draw, I think is going to be extremely tough. There are going to be some hostile games, particularly those away games. Gary, you've been telling me for the last, couple of months, you've been saying that you're going to be booking a flight to the final because you're confident that Spurs will go all the way to the final. Are you still feeling like that now?
Well, the prices have put me off. Do you know what, though? The thing is, Brian just reminded me, when he said that about he can't think of a game where we haven't created chances, it brought me back to when we had Conte. And I think we was on the podcast, Chris, and I think there was like 2 or 3 games where we didn't create hardly any chances whatsoever, and we didn't have any shots on goal or any shape or form. And I can even remember the odd game under Conte where I think it was Tottenham West Ham I went to, and we won 2-0. And I almost fell asleep during the game. And I remember leaving that game thinking we've won, but it was so boring. So that is a positive under Ange because we are creating loads of chances. It is front foot attacking football. And I can't think since Ange has taken over, there ever been a game where we haven't at least had a few opportunities or chances on goal. But under Conte, we went, I think it was about 2 or 3 games, Chris, and we actually didn't create anything whatsoever. So there are positives. I mean, I just hope, like we touched on, I really, really do hope. And I'm saying this, but I know he's going to do it. But I don't understand. Let me just get your opinion on all this because I do not understand why Ange Postecoglou or the club or whatever does not start the strongest team, go 2 or 3 up, and then take a few players off. This has been going on for years. Let me tell you what's going to happen against Coventry.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Changes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask, Gary. With that Coventry game, and like I said earlier, the 10 changes against Fulham.
Yeah,
I don't think Ange can do that again. I think the fan base will go crazy.
I do generally think, though, Chris, there's going to be 7 changes against Coventry. It's going to be a tight, tough game, and we're just going to about go through because we might bring some of the players like Maddison and whatever else and create a few bits. But why does Tottenham Hotspur just not start the strongest team out there, get the job done, and then rest them?
Gary, if you're thinking there's going to be that many changes, what team do you think Postecoglou is going to put out for that Coventry game?
Wow, it's going to be very different. We're not going to recognise it. There's going to be... What's he showing us?
This was the lineup we played Fulham in
Go
the
on.
League Cup last year. Foster in goal, Emerson Royal, Davinson Sanchez, Van der Ven, Ben Davis, Perisic left wing, Højbjerg, Skip, Solomon, Lo Celso, Richarlison. And Richarlison scored.
Right. Now, the thing is, though,
with our bench, it would be a lot better.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, Melv, it's like, Chris, look, he is going to make a lot of changes for the Coventry game. And I know the old argument is, well, that team should still be able to get the job done. But it's not just, changing a few players. It's they're not playing week in, week out together as well. So I personally think he's going to make 5, 6, 7 changes, and it's going to become difficult. Whereas if he started with the first team, who went 2 or 3 up, we've got something to kind of like protect, and then we can relax a little. But what's going to happen is he's going to make 5, 6 changes. We're probably going to maybe take the lead, then they're going to equalise, and then it's going to be like a bit of a panic, and then we will win. But that's what Tottenham are going to do, Chris. I know it even before we're there. I know it.
No, we've got to win this game comfortably.
We will win the game, Chris. We will win the game. But
we've got to go strong.
Changes, and they'll panic and bring some decent players on. They will make the changes, but I don't understand why they're going to do that.
We have to go strong in that game. We have to go strong in that game, in my opinion.
We will, but we won't start strong. And the problem is, it's not just that the players that replaces them are not capable of winning the game. They're not playing week in, week out together. You know yourself, once you change it, it just becomes static. And you know, he doesn't know when he's going to make his run, and it's going backwards. And then you have that thing where, right, okay, Maddison comes on and Doggy comes on, right, we bring these all players on, and then we start playing good football. But at that point, it's 1-1. We go on, we win the game, but we're thinking to ourselves, God, that was a bit of a worry and a bit of a panic. And how many times have we done that? I don't understand why this consistently happens all the time. I don't understand. I don't get it.
We've seen that under so many different managers, which is frustrating. So I hope that we do approach this game very, very differently.
I don't know why we do that, rather than starting our strongest team and getting a 2 or 3 goal lead. I don't know.
Well, I think it's prioritising different competitions, i.e. the Premier League full league position, i.e. Champions League. Phil writes here, Coventry and no mug, semi-final of the FA Cup. I tell you what a game that was. Coventry v Man United last year at Wembley. Unbelievable game.
Coventry should have won that. That was it, wasn't it? Come on. Remember that?
Yeah.
We were gutted for Coventry, weren't we?
Lastly, I just want to give you all an opportunity to say whatever else you want to say on the transfer window, on Europe, Postecoglou, the future, and also give me a prediction of what you think is going to happen this season. Brian, should we start with you?
Yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, transfers. Listen, well, one thing I will say, we'll see what January does bring. I said last January, all I was looking for in the January window was to see Spurs move quickly and get players over the line quick. Because the last few transfer windows in January, obviously we had Porro last day, Kulusevski, Bentancur last day, and Danjuma. Let's not forget, how can we possibly forget Danjuma? That beacon of wonderful talent. And last season, whether you agreed with Timo Werner or not, Andrew Gusin came in early. That showed me change. So hopefully this January, you'd hope and pray that the transfer team right now are discussing, right, January, what do we do? What do we need? Let's strike while the iron's hot and make those moves quick. When it comes to the rest of the season, mate, the life of the Spurs fan, who can predict what this roller coaster is going to bring us? All I will say is that at the end of it, I hope Ange is still the manager.
Yeah,
I hope that this season. And I even hope we look at it, and obviously the owner has gone for top 4 for obvious reasons. But I'm hoping this season he can even see himself that if we're being realistic, the most viable avenue to Champions League football is the Europa League.
Yeah.
And he says, you know what? This time the cups are the priority. And that's no bad thing. If Spurs come out and say, this is what we're going for, because we all know how badly we want a cup, whether it be the Carabao, the FA, or please God, the Europa. That's what I want to see. And basically, what I do want to see more is Ange's in-game management. The thing is, he's got his players now. Like you said, Chris, when we're talking transfers, has Ange been backed and got his players? Yes, he has. Yes, he has. Now he's got to deliver with them like any manager does. Yeah. I'm just hoping that this year we actually give, like you said, we need to respect these cups. We need to respect them. That's what I want. I want to see Spurs respect the cups, both domestic and Europe, and take them as serious as possible.
Brian, when you said the words there, he needs to deliver, and you're the second person in 2 days to come on this podcast and mention the possibility of a new manager. Surely not. Surely whatever happens, like you said, you're hoping that Postecoglou will still be the manager at the end of the season, but surely whatever happens this season, this month, in the next couple of weeks, surely he shouldn't be under pressure. Surely he should be given time.
He shouldn't be. I believe personally he should be. Like I said at the beginning, I will always stand by my manager. As Gary alluded to, if we lose to Arsenal, if we lose to Coventry, the next 4 away games are what? United, Palace, Brighton, Palace, Manchester City. We all know the way. We all know what happens if results don't go our way. That ground will turn, whether it be towards the manager, the owner, whoever. I want Ange to stay because, like I said, if we lose him, we're just going through the same bloody process over and over again. When I say he has to deliver, I mean on the players he's brought in. He needs to go, this is why I brought these players. Now you can see why I did it. I want him to be the manager. I want him to get a new contract. I want him to be able to get his blueprint across, like the other big managers who have gone on to success. And I think the key to Tottenham's success, apart from what I think about the ownership, is giving the manager the time that other top teams give their manager to get their blueprint across and get their ideas over more than a 2-year span.
Right, and the last time you were on, I asked you the question, do you think this channel is a happy clapper channel? Have you changed your opinion yet?
Mate, I didn't listen. I came on and we said this, and listen, people will think I'm one of the toxic fan base of my channel. I've tried to change my approach. I've always said, I've come on this channel now, 3 times. I'm waiting. Chris, when do you send me the hat-trick ball? Let me know when that's coming my way for the hat-trick. Listen, I come on here and I said I'm changing my approach. It's good to have discussions with people that feel the way I do and don't feel the way I do. I've got great respect for you, Chris. That's never been in doubt. Did I once think your channel was more that side? I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah, I did. But like I said, I've taken a step back. I look at things differently all over the shop now. And I enjoy your content. I enjoy speaking to you. I enjoy coming on. I enjoy speaking with your audience. And like I said, it's balanced. That's what I'm going for now, balance. When there's a reason to jump on a certain subject, I'll jump on it and I'll be one of the first to do it. But there's more to life. And I said it on my show today. We're 142 years old today. And if you look back at this time, I've had some of the best moments and memories of my life. I've seen Paul Gascoigne, Jurgen Klopp. There have been some wonderful things that have happened in this football club. And I'm one that wants to sit here and just talk, oh, this is shit, this is crap, this is this is that. I want what people have seen before them. And hopefully people who are just becoming Spurs fans get to see the old Spurs as well. Is how we get there. But yeah, when it comes to this channel, Chris, all the respect in the world for you.
Thank you so much, Brian. Great to have you here again. Melvyn, do you want to have your say on things that perhaps we haven't spoken about and your predictions for this season?
My predictions, I think I mentioned a bit before. I think it'll be quite similar to last season, maybe a bit of an improvement. I think Solanke was a good signing. He's a massive question mark. I mean, if he scores 20 goals, if he scores 25 goals, 15 goals, whatever, it will make a massive impact for the season. For Europe, I agree with Brian. I think that's probably the most fun way for us to get back into the Champions League, because if we win the Europa League, it'll be a massive monkey off the club's back. And I think we will see, I would love to go to Tottenham and see how many Spurs fans would show up to the high road if we win a cup. I want to see that day. I want to fly to London and watch my club lift a trophy. I was too young when we lifted. Well, not too young, but I've seen us lift 2 trophies. I didn't go to England. I was too young, and I was living in Toronto at the time. So I would love to see Spurs lift a trophy, and me to go to the high road, see everyone going crazy, absolutely crazy, enjoying themselves. There's no happy clappers. There's no Levy out people. There's no Levy in people. There's no labels. Just people enjoying, supporting their football club. And that's my dream for this season and what I wish would happen. Do I think it will happen? I think it's possible. I mean, Ange Postecoglou told us to dream, and he told us I usually win things in my second season. So you never know. It could happen. So for me this season, I'm optimistic, but I also have my concerns about the team, and so I'm a bit I don't. If we have a bad loss, I don't go crazy. If we have a good win, I don't go crazy. I judge the team as they are, the level that we are in the second season of our project. So I'm looking at like that. I would actually ask another question for you guys. The Spurs fans forum is coming up, and I'm not gonna lie, I applied for it. I would love to get
as well. Yeah.
if you had a chance to ask a question to either Levy or to Postecoglou or to Heung-min Son, who would you ask, and what question would you ask? So I don't know if Gary wants to go first or
let everyone think about that for a few minutes. Gary, give us your predictions on this season, and give everyone a couple of minutes to think about that.
Yeah.
Just while I remember, Chris, I just wanted to big up everyone in the live chat, because the first time today I've actually had the iPad underneath and I've been reading some of the messages on here. So a big shout out to Dan Gazy and everyone that's put comments up. There's been absolutely hundreds, if not thousands of them. And they're really good to read because they're brilliant, really, to be honest with you. And most of them are pretty positive, but it's really like kind of added to the show to speak with you guys, but then just scrolling through. It's the first time ever for me I've actually done your show, Chris, and had the live chat on. So I'm not great with technology, so it's the first time I've ever done it. And what a show to do it with Melvyn, Brian, me, and you, Chris, because the comments and stuff have been absolutely spot on. So I just wanted to big up everyone in the live chat because I absolutely loved it. Hopefully on the next one, I'll know how to comment back, because on this one, I didn't know how to do it. But I just want them all to know, everyone that's been commenting in, I've been reading absolutely every single one of them, and they've been brilliant. And their input is just as important as yours, Chris, mine, Melvin's, Brian's, everyone's, all Tottenham fans. But going back to Spurs, what do I think this season? I think it's going to be a good season. I personally don't think we're going to get top four. I do think we can progress in the cup competitions. I think if we take them seriously enough, I think this season we could definitely win a trophy. And I think Brian touched on that earlier. I'd be quite happy to finish fifth, sixth, even seventh if we won the FA Cup. Certainly if we won the Europa, obviously. But for me, even if we won the Carabao Cup, Chris, it would be a real, I'm lucky enough and old enough, whether that's a good or bad thing. I've seen us win 3 trophies, which were great. Brian spoke about the days of, Paul Gascoigne and players like that. And look, I don't want people to think we're toxic and we're negative, because we've had some great memories, and not going back that far, but the likes of Bell and, we've had some great players. We've just been starved a trophy and a little bit of success, but I don't think we're a million miles away. And I do think under Ange Postecoglou, we will win a trophy. I certainly don't think we're going to win the Premier League. I could be wrong. I hope I am. But I do feel, even this season, and I really mean this when I say it, we can definitely win a cup competition. It would be great if it was the Europa. But I can definitely see us winning the trophy, Chris. We are good enough, and if things started to change on that North London derby and we get some players back, I think we are a good enough team to go and win a trophy. We've come close. Yeah, okay. We didn't do it in the Champions League. We didn't even look like scoring in the Carabao Cup final against City. Under Ryan Mason, that was a very negative display. But I do feel under Ange Postecoglou, if we did get to a final, we would certainly give it a good go. So I do genuinely think if we get to final this year, I do genuinely believe we'd win it. But I don't think we'll get top 4. And I also, are we going to do much in January? Probably not. Do we need to? Yes, we need to strengthen a little bit. But as Brian touched on, a lot of fans are talking about Eze. I think people are saying he's going to come in January. He's not. It's not going to happen. It ain't going to happen. Let's be honest about it. We're Tottenham. And we have to be realistic as well. Because at the moment, we're not Man City, we're not Liverpool, and we're not that attractive of a club to come to. We have to be honest with ourselves about that. Some teams will have offers with other clubs and think, do I really want to go Spurs? So you have to look at that as well. So you can't always get on Levy's back, on Ange's back, and say the recruitment isn't great, because not every player will fancy coming to Spurs. But I do feel this season we could definitely press on, get to a final and win it.
Let's go back to Melvin's question. What would you ask either Daniel Levy, Postecoglou, Heung-min Son, Robert Wilhelm, or Beth England? Melvyn, I think I'd ask Ange Postecoglou, did you really want Timo Werner again for that season loan? Brian, what would you ask? I think I asked you a similar question, actually. What would you ask Daniel Levy if you had the chance? What would you ask?
Do you know what? At the moment, I refuse to answer the question on the grounds I don't want to get you cancelled. Let's just no. Do you know what?
Okay, what would you ask our captain Heung-min Son?
No, I wouldn't listen. I'll go back to Daniel Levy. I would just say, listen, why so many times when we've been on the edge of glory, have you not taken the plunge? Just why, or even why the window without signing anyone? Stop me because I'll start reeling off a Rolodex of them. But yeah, it would definitely be him that I'd be asking the questions to.
Gary, what would you ask?
I'll go with the Son one. I think I would generally probably ask Son this. It would be a very difficult question, and whether I get an honest answer out of him. But I would ask him, hypothetically, I would say, Son, if you finish your career not winning a trophy at Tottenham Hotspur, will you regret not leaving at an earlier time?
We know that answer. Of course, he's never going to say he's going to regret that. He's loved his time at Spurs. But this is my point and frustration, Gary. Like, we've spoken about this so often on and off air, about the great players. And I think you mentioned it even earlier, Brian, and you, Melvyn, that all the great players that we've had since 2008, the great managers that we've had, win now managers, Jose and Conte, and they were unsuccessful at Spurs. It's crazy. The quality of the players that we've had is just madness. Harry Kane, for example.
Yeah, Harry Kane. Criminal.
Melvyn, who would you ask? I know last time you were in a fans forum, you got a hug from Pochettino.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I've seen that.
So do you want a hug now from Postecoglou?
No, I don't think he would. I don't think he would do it.
I don't think he's a hugger, is he?
No, I don't think he's that type of guy. Anyway, I think when I was there for that fans forum, I was quite impressed by how clever Levy would answer, even on the spot. I mean, he's so good with his responses in a good way, and sometimes even in a bad way. He answers questions really well, and even I think if he had a conversation with Brian, he would get around your question. Seriously, Brian. And when I was there, there was a lady that asked him. We were playing at Wembley at the time, and she said to him, will we take the FA Cup seriously? We're playing there. It's like our home stadium. So I just think we say, why not take the Europa League really, really seriously? I just put that in his head and tell Postecoglou, can we really have a go at the Europa League?
Yeah. Okay. Melvyn, thank you so much. You've been a great guest this evening. Lots of different opinions, and as Gary said, many thanks to all of the viewers and listeners for all of your comments and questions. You've been absolutely brilliant, not only tonight but in the past 7 years or so that I've done YouTube and done this channel. So thank you so much for all of your support. Melvyn, where can people find you on social media, and what are you up to at the moment?
Not much really. Just usually on X or Twitter, Melvyn Malta. If you want to follow me, I usually follow back. I usually follow most Spurs fans back. I usually use Twitter, to meet new people. I met you outside the stadium. I met Gary through you. I met Brian as well through you. We're both from Toronto. I just love coming on the channel. You give people like me from Malta, in a way, a nobody, a voice, and you give, regular people, everyday people a voice. So I love coming on here, and it still blows my mind how many people outside of Malta, Europe, in the world listen to this. It just, I don't usually understand when you send those figures out. One of the most listened to, Spurs podcasts. Well, congratulations to you, and congratulations on the 125, subscribers. So 125,000 subscribers. So a massive landmark.
Yeah, don't leave out 1,000.
I think Malta's population is only slightly more than Chris's subscriber number. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Melvyn. Look forward to having you on again very soon. Brian, where can people find you? What are you up to at the moment?
Yeah, they can find me on my channel. I've got with a few of the lads. It's Tottenham on Tour, just as it says on the bottom. I've got my own Twitter as well, where I do speak Spurs, but I'm trying to have more fun with it nowadays, because that is a cesspit of a place. But the main place you can find me is Tottenham on Tour, where we do daily content. And Chris, once again, thanks, Gary. It's an absolute pleasure meeting you. Melvyn, great to speak to you. Chris, really always good to speak to you, mate.
Thank you, Brian. Look forward to having you on again soon. Gary, where can people find you? What are you up to at the moment?
Well, I think you know where people can find me and what I'm up to. I mean, I will say I don't
keep it clean.
Twitter because it's very, very toxic. I don't get involved with all of that stuff. Believe it or not, I'm normally quite happy and positive most of the time on social media. But you can find me, just type in Gary Maloney on Instagram and Facebook. Brian, if you give me a follow, just prepare yourself because my social media won't be ready for it. So, yeah, I think, Chris, when you first added me on social media, I think we had a phone call and you were like, Gal, I added your social media in. It wasn't what I expected. I was like, yeah.
I look forward to it, buddy. I look forward to it.
But no, listen again, Chris. I love coming on. I don't get on as much as I'd like to. You know yourself with up and down the country and work and shows and gigs and God knows what. There's always something to do. But it's been really good. I think first time I've ever been on with you, Brian, and I really enjoyed it. And Melvyn, listen, we're best of mates. But, you know, it's great to, you know, have opinions and stuff. And that's what the show's about. It would be boring if we all agreed with everyone. So the fact that we've all got our opinions and we feel so strong about it. The main thing is we all love Tottenham and we just want to see us win something, ultimately.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, we all want the same thing. We all want to see Heung-min Son and co, Postecoglou, going down that high road, lifting the trophies. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah.
Oh,
are we dreaming, or can it be realistic this year, or perhaps in the very near future?
Win a trophy this season. Get to the end of the season, win a trophy. Could you imagine?
Yeah, it would be fantastic.
Buying the beers, Gary. You would be buying the beers for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll buy the beers and the pick and mix.
Gary, Melvyn, Brian, thank you so much for your time. And as I said before, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. And until the next time, come on, you Spurs.